The IRS. Oh, it's hard to say it without sneering. You've heard from people who were tortured by the IRS. The tax code's massive, keeps getting worse. What if the entire code in the IRS just disappeared? That's not possible, is it?
Well, hundreds of thousands of people believe it is. This is a rally in South Carolina not long ago. The signs they're holding say, "Fair tax."
Fair tax now! Fair tax now!
They're chanting, "Fair tax now." Earlier, thousands of people attended a long rally for this fair tax inside this stadium. And who's this speaker they're shrieking about? It's radio host Neil Boortz, the most vocal promoter of the fair tax.
And he's also the author of the bestseller, The Fair Tax Book, saying goodbye to income taxes and the IRS. When I first heard that, my reaction was, come on, it's too good to be true.
Not too good to be true. Absolutely not.
Well, I assume that these guys who spent $22 million of their own money gave serious thought to it. They put their money where their mouths are.
They did. These are very accomplished businessmen, and one of them was remarking to his friends, I said, look, you know, every time I go to a board meeting for any company that I serve on the board of directors for, we spend too much of our time worrying about the tax consequences of our business decisions. Why can't we concentrate on growing our business and not worry about tax consequences? So a friend of his said, okay, why don't we come up with the money and solve the problem? Find a better way to fund the government. So they got together a little over $20 million. They hired researchers, accountants. They did focus groups, economists from places like MIT and Harvard. They said, here's the money. Find a better way to fund the federal government than we're doing now. And they turned them loose, and they came up with the fair tax.
All right, well, let's take it step by step. The first step is abolish the income taxes, totally.
All income taxes and all payroll taxes that any individual has to pay, also estate tax, death tax, dividend taxes, all of them are gone, and you get rid of the federal taxes on businesses as well.
And replace this and get just as much money with a consumption tax.
It is revenue neutral. You get rid of all of these taxes, and then you charge an embedded and inclusive 23% national retail sales tax. Now, that 23% frightens people. It really does. Oh, my gosh, 23% more for everything I buy? No, because right now, all of the taxes we do pay are embedded in the price of everything we buy, and that rate is about 22%. So your $100 toaster still costs about $100 with the fair tax as it does under our present system.
I would think at 23% for each sale, you would have a black market. A lot of people would say, psst, you can buy it from me, 20% less.
Yeah, you would think so. And that objection makes sense, but then when you consider that the vast majority, and we're talking well over 90% of all consumer goods are sold by major retailers, they're not going to jeopardize jail, criminal prosecution, by engaging in any black market activity. And all the black market activity we have now, think about it. Those people will be taxed when they go out and spend their dollars at the retail level.
People like illegal immigrants.
Or drug dealers. Or ladies of the night. If they still exist, of course.
How would the drug dealers pay a consumption tax?
Well, the drug dealers, they got to have a big black SUV.
I see, okay.
And they're going to go buy it and pay the tax.
Now, some people might say this is unfair to the poor. It's the same 23% tax for everybody.
Well, here's where the focus groups came in. They said, you know, well, this sales tax, what about poor people? So the developers of the fair tax said, look, nobody, rich or poor, should ever have to pay a penny to the federal government in taxes until they've taken care of the basic needs of their family. And so they devised a rebate or a prebate, call it what you will, where every household in America gets a credit every month to a debit card, a checking card, a credit card, whatever, in the amount that they would have to spend in retail sales tax to provide the basic necessities for their family in that given month. So you never pay a penny to the federal government until your family's needs are taken care of, and that's the way it should be in our system.
So the prebate is how much money about?
Well, I'm going to estimate it right now, but for a family of four, at the beginning of every month, this family of four would get a credit to a debit card of about $500 and change, $540. And so that's just added on top of their paycheck, and they get their whole paycheck. And so they go spend on the basic necessities and still haven't paid a dime in revenue to the federal government.
Some criticisms I've read about the fair tax. Some people say it would have to be more than 23% to raise the same revenue.
There are people who have critiqued the fair tax, and they say it would have to be much more, but they rewrite the bill. And the bill, by the way, is H.R. 25. There are no exemptions. All consumer goods, all consumer services.
How could Congress resist? Oh, we have to make an exemption for food and medicine.
Well, that is taken
Sure.
care of by the prebate. Nobody's paying any tax on the basic necessities of life. And that simplifies the tax code. Nobody's filling out any forms. Nobody is under the thumb of a federal investigative agency watching how they handle their personal finances. If they invest the money, no tax. Save the money, no tax. Buy something at the retail level, and only at the retail level, they pay the fair tax.
And this encourages savings and maybe discourages wasteful spending.
Well, think about this. Businesses also have no tax component on capital or labor under the fair tax. Could you imagine businesses flowing into this country from overseas to take advantage of an economic system like that?
Paul Volcker recently talked about a value-added tax. Many European countries have that.
By mandate.
And this is not the same thing. It's similar.
Well, the value-added tax is a consumption tax, and there is a lot of talk about this in Washington right now. But remember, it is in addition to every single tax we pay now. They're talking about adding this to everything we're already paying. When you talk about the fair tax, it is instead of everything we're already paying.
In addition, it's only at the final sale. The value-added tax is on every transaction along the line.
If you are in business and you're buying inventory or stock or equipment for your business, that's not a retail sale, and there is no fair tax on that.
Thank you, Neil Bortz.
Absolutely.
If it would work, sounds like a wonderful idea.